Okay, angry Native American again. Now, I'm going to let you know, I had to do some hard researching last night. It don't bother me any. Because I know my Native American ancestors were not perfect. But I made a comment on a dance video where they were saying, a bunch of black people were dancing and saying the names of those who died wrongfully at the hands of bigoted white cops. And I have no problem with that. And in my comment, I had asked and said that it was enough for all races, for the black, for the Native American, for the Asian, for all of them. That it needed to stop, that we all needed to be created equal. And this person, who is no better than the bigoted white people who killed George Floyd and all the rest, by the name of Marie Holmes, had to come across and say that this land never belonged to my Native American people in the first place. That it belonged to her people, the black people, in the first place. No, it did not. The black people were brought here by the white people as slaves. And many of those black people were sold to the white people by their own countrymen. That is a hard truth, a hard fact. Another hard truth is my Native American people, before white men came here, yes, had slaves. But my native people, when they took slaves that if another tribe came into my tribe and killed my son, then I had the right to go and steal their son and make their son my son. And that person was kept as a slave to do the job of the tribal member that was lost. Whether it be wife, husband, son, hunter, whatever. And through time, that person who was taken as a slave, once they learned to obey the tribal rules, could earn their freedom and became full parts of the tribe. That was the rule until white man came. And white man taught the Native American people into doing it a different way. Into selling and buying people for profit. And they did it to other tribes, and they did it to African American people. Yes, it's a hard truth, and it's horrible. It was not right. But you know what? There were also rich Africans who came here to America and settled and kept their own people as slaves, which was not right. So it was not only the white people enslaving African people here. It was the white people who taught the native people how to cruelly enslave people. But there's also another truth. There are tribes out there who took in African slaves who had escaped their oppressors and took them in as part of their tribe, as equals. There's also another hard truth. There's plenty of hard truths here. that this nation is complicated. The white man has taught a lot of bad things, but so have African people who came here taught a lot of bad things too. I am not saying any race is perfect, but I will say this. If you are a bigot today, and you're mentioning the names of one of these people who were killed at the hands of white bigoted cops, you are no better than them cops. You're no better than them. You're no better than them racist cops. I don't care where your racism comes from. If you cannot accept people for people, if you cannot accept every citizen born in this country as your countryman and treat them as equal, you are no better than the racist cops who killed these people. And putting their names on your lips disgraces them. There's some hard facts and some hard truths. It was not only white slave owners. There were not only Native American slave owners. There were also African slave owners here in America. And that's a hard truth. And it's a hard fact. And our forefathers were not right in what they did to the native people here. Plain and simple. And this land never belonged to the African people. And many of the native people did not do their black citizens right. Because after freedom came, they did not want to claim their African citizens who were incorporated into their tribe and their descendants. And that was not right. I'm not going to say it was right. I will never say it was right. But as I said, there were tribes out there who took in the African slaves who escaped their oppressor and took them in as full members of their tribe, even after emancipation happened. They accepted their descendants and them as full members of their tribe. And then there's tribes that did otherwise. It was not right. They should have learned. And they should have kept it the way they had it in the past when they had slaves and freed them and allowed them to be full members of their tribe. But they didn't. So racism does not begin and end just with the white man. Racism was made much worse by the white man. But it did not begin and end with them. And the African people who sold their own people into slavery was no better than the white man. And the Native American tribes that took on the white man's way of slavery and who sold their own people into slavery were no better than the white man. But this land here, it was never the black man's land from the start. It was never the white man's land from the start. There were people here long before you people came. This land belonged to the Native American people who were here from the start. Now, what they called this land, as I've said before the white man got here, I do not know. I wish I did, because I'd much rather call it that. But this was never African land. It was never white man's land to start. It was my native people's land. And if you're a bigot out there, and you're talking about these people whose lives were taken by racist cops, you're no better than the cops who killed them. Because the way I see it, George Floyd was one of my countrymen. Tamir Rice was one of my countrymen. Freddie Gray was one of my countrymen. And all the other names out there, they were my countrymen too. I don't distinguish between whether their skin was white or black. I distinguish from whether or not they were born on this land. The only people on this land that are not my countrymen are the racists and the bigots out there. They have no place here. And Marie Holmes from San Francisco, you can count yourself in that number because you're a racist and a bigot. You may be black, but you're a racist and a bigot. Maybe it was your black ancestors who came here as free people and enslaved your own people. And maybe that's why you can have so much hate and bigotry so deep down inside you. Because it's bred into you. Why don't you think about that? Talk about whether or not the white people have lied to us about our history. Let's talk about whether or not only the white people, but the African people from your country lied to you about your history.